Hi, everyone. So, you're at the beginning of your startup journey and you're trying to figure out your market. Who's going to buy your product or service? I'm Jeff Beam from the BCIT Library and Summit Center. In this episode of Information for Innovation, we're going to use a very cool tool called Simply Analytics to help you figure out who your market is, where they are, and even how much competition you'll face in a given location. Let's get started. So first, let's get ourselves to Simply Analytics. There are a number of ways to access it from the library website. I'm starting here at bcit.ca/library. The way that you'll probably want to do it is to get to our research guide for entrepreneurship. So that's under the first search bar. You see we've got journal articles and ebooks and then research guide. So just go through to that. And you have 29 subjects, and our subject is business, and you're going to scroll down to entrepreneurship. All right, and you should be looking at a screen like this. Now, the research guide for entrepreneurship is really your one-stop shop for all your information needs, really, to get your startup going. It combines library resources and also stuff that's out there on the web. And we do try to keep it up to date. And if you have any suggestions for something we could add here, do be in touch. As you can see, my contact details are there on the right. But to get to Simply Analytics, it's one of our top online databases. So on that middle box, I'm going to scroll down and there's the link. And so I'm going to click on that. And this is available to all current BCIT students and employees. So it does give you an opportunity to create an account, but I'm going to sign in as a guest. And when you open it, it gives you this quick tour, but since that's what I'm doing, I'll forego that little presentation. So when you open Simply Analytics, it does provide some help screens. It's a bit like a software wizard, I guess, in that it invites you to start filling things in right away, which you can certainly do. We can start off and do a search for location. For example, I'm just going to type in Vancouver, and notice I have the choice to go for the broad metro area or Vancouver itself, the census subdivision. And so I'll go with that. And you can also add more, like if you wanted to compare, let's say we wanted to compare Vancouver and Toronto, we could certainly do that as well. So I could add the Toronto subdivision. All right, so I'm there. And there are many variables that they offer up. This screen, like I say, this wizard more or less gives you some suggestions about total population, households by income, and so on, and age or education attainment. So any of these could be relevant for your project. So it's just a case of selecting them. I'm actually I'll leave these and just click Create Project. And as you can see, it creates a map of Vancouver. And this one is showing, I'll bring the legend over here so you can see it. It is going by population. Okay, total population by census tracts. All right. You'll notice that you can really zoom in and get a feel for the population density in these different areas. All right. You can actually modify your geographical data here. You can zoom in to neighborhoods and even part of neighborhoods. It gets very granular. All right. So that is one thing you can do. And so Basically, this is your start for looking at a particular characteristics of a given area. Now, one of the powerful aspects of Simply Analytics is that you can actually decide which variables you want to include in your analysis of a particular area. One thing that I really like to look at is the market segments. Now, you can go just click on market segments here and start doing searches within your area to see which market segment, how much it's represented in an area. But I will mention sort of the background to this is up here under support. You can see there's data documentation. All right. And under the data documentation, you get all the census background data, all right, from National Household Survey. So it's talking about that. But one that's very cool as well is the Prism 5 Marketer's Handbook. And as you can see, it goes back some ways. And what this does is break down the population into various characteristics along income, education level, lifestyle, and so on. And this comes out once a year for the 2019 one. And what you can do, like you can go through, they have all these different profiles. They call them segments of different kinds of people. So for example, let's imagine we were opening a bookstore and we wanted to know who the big readers are in a population. All right. And so a very sort of crude way of using this document is to do something like this, it's a large document. So I'm going to do a Control F. All right. I'll get you to see that. And you see I've searched for books. So I'm going to do a search for how often books are mentioned. But if we scroll down, we see, here's a segment that likes bookstores, like shopping in bookstores. So who is this? So we scroll up, and that's in the Prism market segment. That's a cosmopolitan elite. That's number one, and they even break it down into subgroups here. I'm not going to get into that, but they actually describe who the urban elite is, if you can see that, and the prosperous parents, F8. So if you have a particular geographical area in mind, all right, and you know these people like books, all right, it actually tells you here where these folks tend to live. But you can also do a search within Simply Map itself. So if I go back here and under market segments, and there's my cosmopolitan elite, and I can decide if I want the absolute number or actually I want the percentage, like what percentage they make up in a given neighborhood. And I can combine it too, like I can put in lots of different segments. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, I'm going to click there, and you can see my map is rejigging behind us, behind the scenes. And so I go back, and this tells me where those people, folks in that segment, are concentrated. All right. So, I mean, you might probably already have, for your particular business, you might have a theory about who your market is based on any of these factors, right? Income, education, race and ethnicity, like anything, right? But market segments is a really powerful tool, so it's well worth exploring. Now, the next step here is you can zoom in so we can see where there's a high concentration of these folks of the cosmopolitan elite in Vancouver along Granville, all right, near King Edward. And what you can do is say, okay, now I want to know what kind of competition I have in this area. If this is my population of potential book buyers, I can go into businesses and start typing. I'm going to put in bookstore. And what kinds of bookstores show up? Well, actually nothing much here. And in fact, it's very much a residential area. So in a way, that's not too surprising. If I scroll out a little bit, I see where the bookstores are actually located, and I can click on them and figure out which ones they are. I can run a report on this as well that gives me a list. Okay. But you see there's nothing too close to this area where the cosmopolitan elite live. So that might suggest a business opportunity right there. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that you are not stuck with a map view, which obviously only really gives you a two-dimensional information view of your area. So what you can do is you can use some of the tools here that are on the right-hand side, just to give you an idea. So you can do a quick report, and as you can see, you've got a choice. The report content can include the prism material. So here we're just talking about the urban elite, and it shows Vancouver and Toronto and Canada overall. So that might be interesting for you. You can also do a demographic overview. All right, population characteristics. All right, and then you can also do a comparison table as well, and you can add different variables to this list as well. Be sure whatever you're doing, you are signed in as a guest, so the information that you get from your searches, do be sure to export and keep them for yourself, so, for when you're ready to write up your business plan or whatever you're doing. So that's Simply Analytics and this episode of Information for Innovation. I'm Jeff Verbeem. Please do be in touch with me if you have any questions about the material in this episode. My contact details are on the screen. Email is jverbeem@bcit.ca, and my phone number is 604-453-4042. Thanks for watching.